In this video, I'm going to talk about using noun groups and verb groups to write about a line graph. What you can see is that the example gives us the word increase. If you want to write about it as a noun, you would say there was a sharp increase in car ownership. Sharp is an adjective. Increase is a noun. A sharp increase is called a noun group. If you want to write about increase as a verb, you would say car ownership increased sharply. Increased is the verb. Sharply with ly is the adverb. You would say that this is a verb group. The reason why you would need to know both when writing about line graphs is because it helps change the style of your sentences when you write. For example, I would say that this line graph illustrates how car ownership in the UK grew between the years 1900 and 1990. The vertical axis shows the number of cars in millions, and the horizontal axis shows the years listed by decade. Remember that a decade is 10 years. When I go to write about this, I'm going to look at my line graph and split it into two segments or sections. The first section shows the years 1910 to 1950 because this is where there was slight increase in car ownership. The next set is 1950 to 1990 where there is a sharp increase in car ownership. I'm going to underline the noun and verb groups that I use, and I'm also going to write about verb groups in blue and noun groups in red. As can clearly be seen, the number of cars in the UK grew from 1915. From 1920 to 1930, the number of cars increased slowly from 0 to around 1 million. There was a slight dip in the 1940s to less than 1 million cars. In the 1950s, car ownership soared dramatically from 2 million in 1950 to 4 million in 1960. Car ownership rocketed considerably with some slight fluctuations in the 1960s and 1970s. By 1990, car ownership in Britain exceeded 16 million cars. In my conclusion, I'm going to write about an overall trend. The overall trend is the main picture that we see by looking at this graph. The overall trend was that after the 1950s, car ownership in the UK increased dramatically every decade.